Well, I got a tooth pulled back in 2016. I started taking Percocets, and my mom was using. I didn't really, I never really liked drugs, but I took a couple Percocets to like ease the pain on my mouth. It's just terrible. I started seeing my mom getting progressively worse, so I started like kind of eyeballing her a lot. I uh, I started going down with like weed, alcohol, and taking more of my prescription medication. I got I got in my mom's room and I stole some of her drugs, and I started doing this is like in a 2 year span probably happened. I started like dabbling and stuff I probably shouldn't have been. And I ended up getting to the point where I needed to have like those harder drugs. So I uh I progressed from that to shooting dope. Whenever I did that, it got all the way bad, and I we were just lying to my grandfather, just taking all his money. We were just everybody in my family was just mad at us, and it just didn't help my case any. I just kept doing worse and worse stuff. Whenever I started going to jail, though, is whenever I started hearing about, that I probably wasn't doing the right things, and people around me, all my dad's friends, they were in jail, and they just kept trying to guide me in the right direction. I I started I started just going in and out of jail, and I never really I didn't want to stop, but then I had a daughter, and I started trying to do good, but it seemed like I was a victim of circumstance because every time I would get out, I was back in a trap house, or I was like I'd have to hole up somewhere, and um just the drugs, it seemed like I couldn't get away from them. Back when the last time I went to jail was I woke up on the floor of my grandpa's house that was ultimately ours. We had like run it over with just drugs and just people coming in and out. Everybody, my mom was in jail, my stepdad, he'd passed away, and we I was the only one in the house, and I had about the needle exchange, I probably had about 60 rigs dirty that were just laying around me, and the door was cracked open. Somebody gave a call to the cops about there just being my door was open. They said that they needed a wellness check done on the house, so the cops came in. They I got arrested for possession of methamphetamine. I didn't have any my drug of choice on me, but I had a bunch of rigs around me, and I went to prison from that. And whenever I got out of prison, I started I knew that I had to do something better than I was doing. Like I had to do better because I had 5 years probation. I had to do 2 years DOC, and it just I don't know. I felt kind of hopeless. But whenever whenever I got out, I got with a girl, and she started using around me. I didn't know that she was using. I relapsed. I went to rehab, and I started getting into faith. I started like trying to. It just really helped me. I don't. I started. I got out of rehab. I started going to church. I started seeing people around me that had been delivered from the worst things, people I like personally knew, and then I seen them in church. I seen how they would tell their story, and just I seen all this happiness, and I seen that people were the people who didn't stand a chance in the world. All the odds were stacked up against them. They just started getting delivered from these things, and I started trying to follow that, try to get where they were going, try to. Ultimately, I got out of rehab, and I didn't have anywhere to go. After that girl dropped me off at rehab, I didn't want to go back to her house because she was still using, and I not knowing who to call because my rehab didn't really set up like a what's that called when they release you, like an exit plan. And I didn't have anywhere to go. So whenever they dropped me off at a homeless shelter in Richmond, and they wouldn't let me in. So I just felt like this thing was gonna repeat itself, and it was gonna keep doing that. But I called Joel Conway. He got a hold of Mike for me, and ever since I've been staying there and just trying to trying to know God, and instead of worrying about my petty little, myself and my problems, I can just cast it all on that cross, and I'm ultimately like, I don't have to worry about anything, not anymore. But I just think that following, getting into His Word and following God is probably the best thing that I could have ever done. And uh, I usually kick the. I'm working now. I'm I'm doing so much better. It's kind of crazy to look back on things that I used to literally think about. Not these things would probably never happen in my life, and I get up, I go to work, I work 12s. It's just, and I'm not exhausted whenever I get up. I mean, I am, but mentally, I'm just so happy that I can go do these things because I used to not be able to, that wasn't an option. Worrying at, like waking up, worrying about being dope sick. It just, I don't worry about that anymore. I get to see my daughter. This is probably the most important thing. I get to see my daughter anytime I want. I get to watch her. I remember I used to take back my kids' diapers to go sell for take them and return them for dope money. I'm not I'm not that person anymore. It's a great feeling. I got a bank account. That's unheard of, you know? Like I'm just so grateful because these things used to not be possible. It just feels like I keep leveling up. It's a great feeling.